flags to the women.
Both blocking him up down here in turn one, but bam, oh boy, Craven really shot out into it.
And here we go on another episode of The Middle, In Between Media's quick hit series. I'm Seth Woolcock. Tonight, you're going to hear from myself and my two podcast co-hosts, Nate Povogt and Scott Rinear. Tonight, we're going to break down all the action of the wild NFL draft that is still underway right now and is about to conclude here in just a short while. Really been a wild evening. Tell everyone from your mother to your brother, man, about this draft. It's one that will definitely, I think, go down in infamy, just with all the hype around the first couple picks here, and then all the way through just stunners. And the fantasy football community will have a lot to say in the coming days. But for right now, I just want to break down my top takeaway from this and how I'm going to react to this in the short term. It starts with none other than late in the draft, Jacksonville Jaguars. They selected Travis Etienne out of Clemson. They're pairing him with none other than Trevor Lawrence, the first pick in the draft. So a little QB running back combo there. From a fantasy perspective, this is not as pleasant as it is from a football perspective. From a football perspective, you love what you're going to see. This has been a deadly combo the last few years in college football. Arguably one of the best QB and RB combinations we've seen in college football in the modern era. And now, obviously, Etienne, he steps in. Last year, James Robinson. James Robinson was a guy who came into the league last year. No one was willing to really take a chance on him other than Jacksonville. And he doesn't have that draft capital. And now Etienne comes in as a first-round pick. Obviously has the exact opposite of what James Robinson did not, draft capital. Robinson was very capable in his first season in Jacksonville. Put up good numbers all around, but really, to the eye test, you look at James Robinson, he was a guy who, especially out of the shotgun, something Urban Meyer liked to work out of. James Robinson continued to gain yards on an offense that was 32nd in the league and 1 in 15. He obviously was an RB1 on the season, and now with Etienne, that's gone. From a dynasty perspective, if you haven't sold James Robinson at this point, it's probably too late. If you can sell him, I guess now is the time. Kind of looking at things right now, Etienne, obviously Najee Harris, we're going to hear a little bit more on him later in the show, but he's probably the consensus RB1 now. Javonte Williams could possibly pass Travis Etienne as far as rookies go. So it's going to be really tough. And from a redraft perspective right now, I bet Travis Etienne, he's probably going to be maybe a late 4th to 5th round pick. I'm probably not really looking at scooping him up that much because James Robinson himself, was very capable. Urban Meyer has said multiple times how good of hands James Robinson has. So, it will be interesting to see. I think, especially the beginning of the season, we'll see Robinson get the early carries on the first and second down, and probably Travis Etienne will sneak in there on third down. But I could see maybe at the end they reverse those roles because James Robinson's a better pass catcher than we think. He's obviously very good in the goal line as well. It's going to be tough. Right now, I'm probably James Robinson. He's probably now more closer to a 6th or a 7th round pick rather than the 3rd round pick he is. I think obviously now those first couple rounds of RBs, guys like Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, if Antonio Gibson stays clear here of running back competition the rest of the draft, those guys really go up in my opinion because James Robinson's a guy who he falls down now. So again, probably 8th round, 6th, 7th maybe if you're really desperate for an RB for James Robinson. Etienne's probably looking around the 4th or 5th round, but I'm not that excited for it either way. Just a bad situation in Jacksonville. One of the many times in the draft where it's a great situation for football and you're excited, but as far as a fantasy outlook immediately, you are a little sour on it. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague, my co-host of the In Between Fantasy Football podcast. You can find us every Wednesday on the YouTube right here, as well as on Twitter and Facebook. Nate, take it away, man.
Hey, Seth, thanks for sending it over to me. So I have some thoughts on the draft tonight as well. So first of all, I want to talk about Mac Jones to the Patriots. It's a beautiful move on the Patriots end. The fact that Mac Jones was still available at that pick is incredible for Bill Belichick and that Patriots offense. Mac Jones is a very similar quarterback to Tom Brady, and I feel like with that skill set, he's very much a pro-style, in-the-pocket passer, and Belichick loves that style of offense, and so does Josh McDaniels. Mac Jones is a guy who I feel like if he's not starting week one, he's starting by midseason, and we see a guy who is adept in the pocket and can spread out the ball. I love it for guys like Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. I love it for Jacoby Myers and any other pieces they bring in. This is going to be a great offense in New England with Mac Jones, and I think it starts year one. I don't think there's a whole lot of time where we have to wait around to see if Mac Jones is going to start to produce. He's not going to be a Trey Lance who's going to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year, and then we're going to get to see him. This was a great pick by New England. My second player I want to talk about is Najee Harris going to Pittsburgh. Huge move. And Seth, I know that this is your team, and you should be very happy about this. Najee Harris fits that offense so well. He's a power runner with a lot of physical ability who can catch the ball out of the backfield. For Ben Roethlisberger, it provides a new weapon in his aging state where he isn't as mobile as he used to be and he can't take as many hits as he used to. This provides him a quick release to get rid of the ball in passing situations where nothing's open, and then you're not seeing Roethlisberger get beat up in the pocket, which could probably elongate his career, and maybe we're looking at a 2022 season with Ben Roethlisberger because of this Najee Harris pick. I love both of them. I think they're phenomenal. Scott, let's talk about what you think, buddy.
Thanks for that, Nate. What's up, fam? Did I use that right? Fam? Okay, cool. And what a day it's been. Let's see. I've been having a blast today. I'm in Seattle. It was like 70 degrees, so it was really nice out. And the madness of draft day started pretty early on. We had the Tim Tebow news. We had the Aaron Rodgers rumors that turned out to be nothing, not surprisingly, but it was really fun to watch what it did, especially to Twitter. It's always fun. And it was just an all-around fun day. And then the actual draft came. And you know, the first few picks, obviously not much of a surprise. I mean, in the last bit of time, the stars were aligning for Trey Lance to be that third pick to San Francisco. I never really bought it was going to be Mac Jones ever. I did think it should be Justin Fields, and that's who I was rooting for. But Trey Lance, good for him, coming from North Dakota State, in tears on his way up. I love that. Big Seahawks fan, DK Metcalf fan, and watching DK Metcalf's reaction last year brought tears to my eyes, so it was really cool to see, just that emotion on Trey Lance, and I wish him all the best, even though he's going to the Seahawks' arch rival. After that, Kyle Pitts went to Atlanta. That was mocked pretty regularly in the last few weeks. Then came will the Bengals do an offensive lineman? Will they do Jamar Chase? And they went with Jamar Chase. I think the smart pick there would have been Sewell, but you can't really argue with Chase's talent. The first surprise to me was Waddle at 6 to Miami. I think Devonta Smith's a better receiver, but again, I live in a fantasy world, like literally, and, with fantasy football. And the NFL and the GMs there are smarter than me. They know what they're doing, and I'm sure that was their guy. So be that as it may. And then Detroit, I think, made the smart pick. Sewell probably wasn't expected to fall to 7, so they grabbed him up. And then Carolina took one of the two best corners in the draft, in my opinion, J.C. Horn. And then Denver really was a surprise to me and to my compadre we just heard from, Nate, as they took Patrick Surtain, not really sure, but that was not the expected pick there with the linebackers they have, and I really thought they'd go Justin Fields. So I'm not going to go through the whole rest of what's happened so far, but I would say the two big winners of the draft so far are, oddly enough, the Chicago Bears, trading up to number 11 to grab Justin Fields. I thought that was pretty masterful. And then the Minnesota Vikings, who traded back and still ended up getting probably a guy that was on their board at pick number 14 in Darisaw, the offensive lineman. So those are my two big winners so far in the draft, with the Bears getting Justin Fields and the Vikings trading back and still getting Darisaw. Two biggest losers, I would say, the Raiders picked Alex Leatherwood, who has a late first round, maybe early second round grade as an offensive lineman. I thought there were much better offensive linemen still available to them there. And then the Jets trading up for an offensive lineman all the way up to number 14. That was a little strange. And they traded from the 23rd pick, which was the Seahawks pick that they got. So they kind of, in my opinion, botched that trade. But we'll see. These draft grades that people give are a little ridiculous because we have no idea. But anyway, it's been a really exciting day. I've been having a lot of fun interacting with everybody, just like every other day, but today was pretty special. So anyway, have a good night and have fun tomorrow on day 2.